All right, young scholars. Apologies for my tardiness here. I was setting it up like I described on Monday. So now it is set up on Blackboard, where within the grade book, only your top 10 homework scores are going to count. It's going to drop the three lowest scores. So I think right now it probably doesn't do anything because you only have three of the homework scores. But once you complete homework 4, homework 5, etc., it's going to drop the three lowest scores. So today we're going to go through the tutorial on this inventory and strings file. So go ahead and click the 3 and download original file. When we go through this, the first half that we do is going to help you do Excel homework 4. The second half that we go through is going to help you do Excel homework 5. Now, once we go through everything, I'll open both of those homeworks up and show you exactly what I mean. So when you open your inventory and strings file, it should look like this. There should be an inventory worksheet, a meanings worksheet, an assumptions on discount worksheet, an inventory strings worksheet, and an NFL worksheet. So these first 3 worksheets apply to homework 4. The last 2 will help you with homework 5. So within these, it has meanings and assumptions on discount. So the meanings here, the inventory spreadsheet has data on the products our company sells. The columns have the following meanings. Column A is the product number of the product. Column B is product division code. Column C is the number of units of that product that is in inventory, which means it's on hand, we have it. Column D, the unit cost to buy from our supplier, list price. Column E, how many units we sell every day, our daily sales. This table lists the number of weeks of supplies that we should have on hand for all of our products in each of the division codes. So for dairy, we need to have 5 weeks of supply. For meat, we need to have 3 weeks of supply. For canned goods, we need to have 12 weeks of supply. For the bakery, we need 9 weeks of supply. For cleaning supplies, we need 7 weeks. And for paper, we need 8 weeks. And then we have an assumption on our discount. So the table below shows the discount percentages for the different amounts of total order quantity. The total order quantity is the total of all products ordered. The same discount percentage will be used for each product that is ordered. So if our order is somewhere between 0 and 2,000, we don't get any discount. If it's above 2,000 but less than 5,000, it's 3.5%. If it's above 5,000 but below 9,000, it's 8.5, etc., etc. Once we get our total order quantity, we come into this and we determine which discount percentage we get and multiply it, as I'll walk you guys through momentarily. So that all applies to this first worksheet of inventory. So this first column, F here, asks us, how many do we need? Well, we need to go into our meanings. So we do equals, we click into our meanings worksheet. And for baked goods, we need to select B14. So we're now currently using two worksheets at the same time. Within that inventory worksheet, we're using information from meanings. So that's why it gives us equals meanings, exclamation point, B14, which tells us that there is a piece of information from a different worksheet that we need to use. So then we click back into that formula bar and we put in a multiplication sign. Then we click back into inventory and select cell E2. So our weeks is being multiplied by our daily sales. But what else do we need to multiply it by? Daily means 1, right? We need to multiply it by the number 7. There's 7 days in a week. Our daily sales only gives us 1 day. So we need to do equals. We click in the meanings worksheet. We selected B14 because that matched our BAK for bakery. Then we come back into our inventory worksheet. We multiply it by the first inventory list here in daily sales, then multiply it by 7 because there's 7 days in a week. But we notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different bakeries here. So put a $sign before B and a $sign before the 14 to make them absolutes. So we can simply press enter and auto fill down for all the BAKs. So we click enter. We have 504. We click back in, auto fill down. And in this example, everybody's is in order, right? BAK, CAN, CLN. On the homework, I'm going to have to show you guys how to do sort in order to make this easier for yourself. So those first couple are for BAK. Now we need to do CAN for canned goods. So we again do equals, click back into meanings, select B13 because it matches CAN here. Then our multiplication sign. We click back into inventory. We select what's there under daily sales. And again, multiply by 7. And again, since we have multiple CANs here, we're going to put $signs for the B and the 13 to make it an absolute so we can auto fill down. So you should have 252 there. And then auto fill down for all of the CANs. Then we have to do the same thing for CLN, the cleaning supplies. So we do equals, Select the meaning worksheet, and B15 because it matches the CLN. Multiplication sign, go back into inventory, select daily sales, multiply it by 7 for the 7 days in a week, make the B15 an absolute, and you do the same auto-filling for all the CLNs. In the cell, white plus to black plus, drag down so that all the CLNs now use that formula. Now we have dairy, meat, and paper left to do. So for dairy, we click into F20, we do equals, we click the meaning worksheet, we find DRY, it's the 5 here, meanings B11, multiplication sign, back into the inventory worksheet, select from the daily sales, next to it, multiply by 7, the B11 needs to be an absolute. So when we auto-fill down, we could do it for all of the dairy products. So that one should be 210. We click back in. We auto-fill down for all the dairy products. Next, we do the same thing for the meat. We click into F33, equals, into our meetings. That one is B12. MET for meat. Multiplication sign. Go back into inventory. Select E33, which is our daily sales, times 7 to get 7 days in a week. We make B12 an absolute. So when we click enter, we get 189. We can click back in and auto-fill the formula down for all of our meat products. And then last but not least, we have to do that same thing again for the 6th product, our paper products. So we do equals, select any meanings. We select B16 because it matches our paper, PAP. Multiplication sign, click back into inventory. We select E41 for the daily sales, multiply by 7. We make B16 an absolute. This way, when we hit enter, we get 224. We can click back in and autofill the rest down. So basically, all you're doing for each one, in order to determine how many we need, is you're going into the meanings worksheet to get that matching piece of information of the weeks of supply, then multiplying it by the daily sales next to it, and then multiplying it by 7. But since there's 6 different product types, I just showed you, okay, we can make the meanings an absolute for each of those products, then multiply the first one, then multiply it by 7, and then autofill the full thing down. So that's a little difficult because you have to use two different worksheets at once. Now, how many we have is much simpler. How many we have, we already know. It's this on-hand column. So all we do is equals and then select cell C2. And we hit enter, click back into the cell, and autofill all the way down. So this way, each of those cells should just match whatever is in column C. So now we need to know how many we need to order of each product. Our order quantity here in column H. So we do equals, how many we need, minus how many we have. So how many we have to order minus how many we already have to give our actual answer of what we need to order. So we hit enter. And in this instance, we need to order 459 in order to get our 504. So we click back in that cell and autofill everything down all the way down to H51 here. But then use your up arrow to go up. You'll see some of these numbers are negative, that we already have more than enough to cover what we need for those weeks. So in any instance where you see a negative number, simply select that cell and type in a 0. We do not want our total order quantity to include negative numbers, or it will screw up our calculation. So anywhere you see a negative number, type in a 0 to replace it. Because if we already have enough to cover our weeks, we don't need to place an order. So it looks like there were only 3 instances where there was a negative number. And you type in the 0 in place of it. And then once you've done that, in cell H52, we're asked to calculate the total order quantity. That is going to help us determine what the discount rate is. So you simply click this button, that's the sideways M, which is the auto sum button. Or you could type in equal sum and then type in this range yourself. It's entirely up to you. But, you know, you have this nice little panel here. You might as well use it when it's easier. So you click the auto sum button. It highlights your range for you so that it gives you the sum of all of the items. So it tells us that we have 14,794 items that we have to order. So we click into our assumptions on discount. And that number is in between 14,000 and 16,000. So our discount rate is going to be 16.5%, because that 14,794 is in between 14,000 and 16,000. So what we do is in cell G2, or J2 rather here, it asks us for our discount rate. So we do equals, we click into assumptions on discount, and we select that B10. We click enter, and now that's 16.50% is in that one specific cell. That's the only place we are going to need it, because we're going to use it as an absolute for our net price per unit. So our net price, our net price per unit takes our list price and then subtracts the discount. So we do equals our list price minus, open parenthesis, list price times our discount rate, close parentheses. And we make the J2 an absolute. Our discount rate is the same for every product based on our total. So we multiply. And now for our first product there, the list price was $6.44. It's now $5.38. So we click back in and we autofill that down. And some of these you can see we got a pretty good deal. $1.07 dropped to 89 cents. So we don't have to pay as much. Now, what this helps us determine is our last column there, column K, our total cost per unit, which is simply how many we need to purchase, our column H, order quantity.
Professor,
Yes,
I have no idea what I did wrong in J2.
J2
Yeah.
should just be assumptions on discount B10, because down the bottom here, we totaled up our total quantity was 14,794. So you just
Oh,
did equals and
yeah.
then clicked into the assumptions on discount and selected that one 16.5%, because the 14,700 whatever is in between that range. Does that help?
Yeah, I accidentally put a multiplication sign afterwards. That's what happened.
Okay. So when you insert that, since we didn't have to multiply it by anything, you would just click at the end and press the enter button. So for column K, again, it's just our column H times our column I. So we do equals H2 times I2. So this is how many we need to buy, multiplied by how much each of them is going to cost based on our discount, gives us our total price. We click back into that cell. We autofill everything down. And you'll notice that the ones that had 0 The cost obviously associated with that should be zero. You're not buying anything. So you multiply it, anything by zero, it's a zero, right? And then lastly here, we're asked to compute the total cost. So we do the same thing we did with total order quantity. We simply click the auto sum button, or you could type in equal sum and then your range of cells and press enter. And we have to spend a little over 57 grand in order to complete our tasks. So for homework 4, you're basically asked to do the same thing. To compute order quantity, net price per unit. You're given a different file though, inventory, which will just look like this. I just showed you how to use multiple worksheets at one time. So you're more than welcome to go and click the plus here and add 2 new sheets and make the first one meanings and the second one assumptions on discount, just like the example I just provided. For the weeks of supply, if you were to copy the meanings as I've given it to you, all you would need to do was make sure that these matched. So what order do I have? Dry, met, can, Bach, clean, pop. So it's the same order. You would just change the numbers from what I have here to what is given on the homework. So you would just type these in. If you copy it directly from the instructions like this, it thinks that these are strings and gives you an error. So you would make a new worksheet, sheet 2, you would right click, rename, call it meanings. Copy this meaning stuff from the in-class example we're just doing now, and then just type in the new numbers here for each of these. But actually, then you do the same for the assumptions on discount. You'd click in sheet 3 after you made it. You'd right click, rename it to assumptions on discount. You'd copy this piece of information. You'd modify and type in the new amounts based on the new chart. And you do basically everything I just showed you to do. However, in the example I showed you, these are already sorted. But in this example for the homework, you'll see it has PAP, CLN, CAN. They're not in order yet. So what you have to do is click column A and see where it says AZ sort and filter. You would select sort A to Z from that dropdown. It'll give you a little message. You say, yes, expand the selection, sort. And then it'll give you the items in order, BAK, CAN, CLN. And you literally just go through and do what I just showed you. You calculate how many we need. You calculate how many we have, the order quantity. You total the order quantity to get your discount rate. Then you compute your net price per unit. Then you compute your total cost per unit. and total that up. So that is homework 4. Literally just that first 3 things, those first 3 worksheets we just went through. However, obviously, since you're changing the weeks of supply and the discount rate possibilities, that obviously your answers are going to be different with that example than what we just did in class. So are there any questions on that?
I have a question.
Okay.
So for the past 3 homeworks, I've been doing the whole formula part wrong. Can you give an example of how exactly you want it to be done?
So when you click into a cell, see this formula bar here?
Right.
Equals, meaning that is the formula.
Yeah.
So if you're just typing in like 392, that's probably what I mean. Like no
Yeah.
formulas, and then you're getting points taken on.
Right.
So the reason I need you to do the formulas isn't to be a jerk
Is
or
for
anything,
the future. Yeah.
is
Yeah.
because basically all of these different calculations we're doing. So, like using a different worksheet possibility could be on the midterm. Um,
Right.
using a formula like this, using finding information somewhere else, the absolute cell references, the sum function, all of this stuff is going to be combined on the midterm exam.
Right.
So if you're not putting the formulas in, then you can't refer back to these quote unquote notes when you're doing the midterm.
Right. Understood. So instead of the numbers, you just want us to put the formula.
Yes. So these
Okay. Okay.
formulas in the cells give you the answers rather than
Gotcha.
just the answers.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because this way, you could read back through the homework and be like, oh, okay, we use this here. Because remember last week I mentioned if the sentence said if and, that means you're going to use a formula that is equals if, open parentheses, and open parentheses, you fill in the and, then you do a comma and finish the true and false for the if.
Yeah.
So all those different formulas will be on the midterm. So if you just have the numbers in your cells when you're referring back to these tutorials we've done, that's not going to help you on the midterm. So,
Understood.
all right, perfect. So, are there any other questions on that? Like I said, this first 3 worksheets should help you do homework 4. Now, these next 2 are going to apply to help you with homework number 5. So we have this inventory strings worksheet here, and it gives you a product number column, a product division code column, an on-hand column, a list price column, and a daily sales column. All the same thing from the inventory worksheet. However, we don't really care about these guys. All we're going to do is use our string functions to take information out of these cells where there's strings. So we're going to take out division description, which is our first 3 letters here. Then we're going to have a dash. Then we're going to take out the product number, which is those 3 numbers in the middle. Then we're going to have another dash. Then we're going to have a color description, which is the last letter. So the color description, the last letter, as you'll see momentarily, the B represents black, the W represents white, the R represents red, and the G is going to represent gray. For the division description, I mentioned them before. BAK is bakery, CAN is canned goods, CLN, cleaning supplies, DRY is dairy, MET is meat, and PAP is paper. Then at the end here, we have full description, which is what we're going to use to concatenate. We're going to add all of these columns together. So let's do that full description first. We're going to do equals 2 ampersand G2 ampersand H2 ampersand I2 ampersand J2. Or you could use the concatenate function. I just think this looks a little easier because all you're doing is putting the ampersand, the and symbol, in between all the different pieces you need. So F2 ampersand G2 ampersand H2 ampersand I2 ampersand J2. When you click enter, right now it just gives you dash dash because we don't have anything in F, H, or J just yet. But we click back in the cell. Let's scroll over a little so you can all see that. And you drag it down. Auto fill down. And then you'll see all of them are dash dash. As we go through and calculate everything else, you'll see that those will change. So for our division description, instead of what we did here with inventory, with our how many we need, where we went and did everyone for each individual group. So the BAKs was B14, CANs was B13, etc. In this instance, we're going to use a nested function. Remember I told you that if there is more than one instance, you use ifs instead of if. So we have 6 possibilities here. So we're going to use the ifs function. However, the way we get those 6 instances is by using the left function. We use left because for the product division code, we're using those first 3 letters. So they start on the left. So we do left, A2, comma 3. So this way we get those first 3 letters, the BAK, the CAN, the CLN, the DRY. And we do this for each of the 6 instances. Then we do equals, quote, BAK, close quote, comma, inside quotes, the word bakery, comma. Then we do it again. Left, A2, comma 3. This time it's equals CAN. If that's true, then comma, canned goods, close quote, comma, left, A2, comma 3, equals, inside quotes, CLN, close quote, comma, inside quotes, cleaners, comma, left, A2, comma, 3 equals, in quotes, DRY. If that's true, comma, in quotes, dairy, comma, left, A2, comma, 3 equals, in quotes, MET, comma, if that's true, meat, in quotes. And then another comma, and we do the last one. Left, open parenthesis, A2, comma, 3, close parentheses, equals, in quotes, PAP, comma, if that's true, paper, in quotes, close parenthesis. So this way in your ifs, you're using the left function to find out what the first three letters are in all of the product numbers. If it's BAK, you'll get bakery. If it's CAN, you'll get canned goods. If it's CLN, you'll get cleaners, etc., etc. This way, when you click back into the cell and autofill it all down, they're all answered. The PAPs are all paper, the METs are all meat, the DRYs are all dairy, the CLNs are all cleaners, the CANs are all canned goods, and the BAKs are all bakeries. So again, we use the ifs because there's 6 different conditions here. We use the left function to determine what is what. And you see on the end there, the full description now has bakery included. We included all 6 of those instances, like I said, so this way we click back in and can autofill down, and we have every single one of our answers. So now product number in column H is much simpler. We just want to take these numbers in the middle out. So we use the mid function. So we do equals mid, open parentheses. We select the cell that we want to get the information from, comma, where do we want to start? So the number starts BAK8. So that's the 4th number or piece of the string. So we start at number 4. And then another comma. How many characters do we want? 875 is 3 characters. 623 is 3 characters. 320 is 3 characters. So we just need 3 characters. And then we have our closed parenthesis. And when we click enter, it should just show us the 875 from that BAK 875B. And we click back in that cell and we can autofill that whole formula down. And it takes out those numbers from each of the product codes. And you'll notice we can autofill these down because everything is column-wise. It's going down, as opposed to when we did the apartments, some stuff was going across, some stuff was going column-wise. And then lastly, we need to do the color description which is going to be similar to our bakery description formula. However, instead of left, we're going to use right because we need that last letter in the product number. And instead of 6 instances, there's only 3. Like I said, the B represents black, the R represents red, the G represents green, and the W represents white. So we do equals ifs. And then instead of left, it's right. A2. And instead of 3 letters that we were taking from the left, we only need 1. We need that last piece. So if it equals G, comma, it's going to be gray, comma, right, A2, comma, 1 again. This time, if it equals W, comma, then our true is white, comma, right, A2, comma, 1 equals, if it's B, comma, then it's black, if it's true. And then lastly, comma, right, A2, comma, 1 equals R. If that's true, then it's red. So again, we use ifs here because we have 4 different possibilities: gray, white, black, red. So in this instance, since the last letter is B, if I hit enter, I type this in correctly, it should say black. Yep, and it does. When we click back in, we autofill everything down. And now all of our B's say black, all of our W's say white, all the R's are red, all the G's are gray. And then our full description is now full. Bakery-875-black, etc. for all of them. So the reason we did it that way, instead of the way we did it back here on inventory, is in this instance, now it doesn't matter if you sort column A. Because, okay, if there's a B on the end, it doesn't matter what the rest is. It tells us the color description. It doesn't matter what order this is, because it's just going to tell us, okay, if it's BAK, it's bakery. If it's CAN, it's canned goods, etc. Exit. So are there any of those 3 formulas that I need to go over again? All pretty clear on that? Okay, good. Then last but not least, the NFL worksheet here. We're going to use those same left, right, and mid functions in order to determine the first team score, the second team score. We're going to determine who won, the winning score, and how many games did Tampa Bay win. So for the first team, that should be fairly simple. We do left, we select the cell, and in this football example, the letters are just 2, In the baseball example for homework 5, there are going to be 3, and I'll show you that momentarily. So equals left C2, 2. We only need 2 letters. The TB, it represents Tampa Bay. That's the first team. That's why it's 2 letters. We click enter, we have TB. We click back in the cell, we autofill it down, and now we have the first team, the first 2 characters from those cells. So now to get the first team score, we're going to use the equals mid function. We do equals mid, we select the cell, comma, where are we starting? Well, we already used the first 2 characters. The first team score starts with the 3rd character, and it's 2 numbers long, 29, 14, 38, 14, etc. So we do comma 2 because we only need 2 characters. So again, left and right is just going to have 2 parameters. What's the cell and how many characters do you want to take? Whereas mid, it's what's the cell, where are you starting, and how many characters do you want to take? So we click enter. We now have the first team score is 29. We autofill it down. All of those scores should match that first score. Then for the second team, we also need to use mid because it's smack dab in the middle there. So we do equal mid, we select the text, then where are we starting? In this instance, it is 5 because we already used the first 4 with our first team and first team score. And then since the team names are only 2 letters, we do comma 2 to give us those 2 characters. So when I click enter here, it should say NO for New Orleans. And it does. We click back in the cell and autofill down. And we have the second team names for all of these. And then for second team score, we can simply use the right function because we just need these last 2 numbers at the end. So we do equals white, open parentheses, select the cell, comma 2. And that gives us the last score. So 32 in that instance. We click back in, we autofill it down. So next, we're asked to determine who won each game. So we use an if function. We do equals if, open parenthesis, F2 greater than H2. If the first team scored more points than the second team, comma, E2. That means the first team won. If it's false, then G2. That means the second team won. So in this first instance, it should give us G2 as the answer, NO, because 32 is greater than 29. So when we click enter, our if gave us the correct answer, NO. So that means we typed the formula in correctly. We click back in and autofill it down. So now with winning score, we're also going to use an if function. However, with ifs so far, I've only showed you greater than, less than, greater than, or equals to. You're also able to just do equals. So if we do equals if I2 equals E2, comma, F2. So if the first team won, then we give the first team score, comma, otherwise H2. If that was not true, then we give the second team. So we did equals who won equals first team. If it's the first team, then give the first team score. Otherwise, give the second team's. So since New Orleans won, it should give us an answer of 32, which it does. We click back into that cell and auto filled in. Okay, this last piece here, how many games did Tampa Bay win? This should help you get 5 extra points on homework 5. In this example, we use what is called a count if function or formula. With a regular count, all it does is counts. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 instances there. So if I were to do equals count, open parentheses, select everything I2 through I8, our range, and press enter. Under normal conditions, if there was numbers there, it would say 7, because there's 7 instances. However, with a count if, we're looking for something specific. So we simply type if after count, and after our range of cells, we put a comma. And then since we're looking for Tampa Bay, we put TB in quotes. So now what this is going to do is it's going to check all of these cells to see which one has TB in it. Okay, all 7 of them might, 4 of them might, 1 of them does. So 1 of them has TB. So when we click enter, it should give us an answer of 1. And it does. If we went and changed that to New Orleans, you would type NO instead of TB, and it would give you the answer of 2. So it's just counting if there is whatever you're looking for in the cell range you provide. So on homework 5, which is in next week's basket, you're basically asked to do the same thing. Like I went through gray, white, black, red. Dairy, meat, canned goods, bakery, cleaners, paper, etc. So you'd scroll to the bottom, you download the inventory strings file that would look just like this. You'd go in to that inventory worksheet, and the same things you did here in the inventory strings, division description, dash product number, dash color description, full description, you would do the same exact thing in that inventory worksheet for homework 5. And you could, in theory, let's see if it actually works before I tell you all to do that, and then it doesn't. Let's see. You could, in theory, highlight columns F through K that we just did on the example, and highlight I guess it would be E through J on this, and then do Control V. Fix numbers to. Okay, yeah, it wouldn't necessarily work. Okay, so scratch that. But basically, you would do the exact same thing in that worksheet as we did in the inventory worksheet here, or inventory strings worksheet, rather, we just did. And then the NFL worksheet we just went through is going to help you calculate the baseball worksheet answers, where you're asked to calculate the full name of the team that won each game, first team score, second team score, etc. The total number of runs by the winning team, basically everything we just went through. First team score, second team score, who won, winning score. But instead of how many games did Tampa Bay win, it asks you how many games did the Yankees. So once you calculated all of this stuff, you'd add it in here to the baseball worksheet. You would use this same count if function. You'd highlight your range of cells. You do inside quotes NYY, and it should give you the number 7 if you do it correctly. And that'll give you 5 extra credit points towards that homework grade. So on homework 5, you could technically get a 55 out of 50. So if you so chose, you could do Excel homework 4 and Excel homework 5 this week. Since technically we just went through what you need to do in order to complete this. So is there any questions on any of this? No? All right. Well, if there are no,
One thing.
go ahead.
So for homework 4 today, we're only just copying and pasting the discounts and the meeting file, right?
So for the homework 4, which is
Yeah.
this inventory 1, you can click this plus button here to add 2 new sheets.
Yeah, meanings and.
Yep, and you could copy the meanings and assumptions on discounts.
All right.
But you would have to type in the new information from the instructions on both.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? No? All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you all on Monday. Email me with any questions, preferably by Saturday afternoon. Since I am a 49ers fan, I will be pretty busy on Sunday with the Super Bowl. All right. Enjoy the rest of it.
Have a good weekend, Professor.
Thank you. Take care.